So, welcome back once again to hero-villain mashups, where I talk about heroes, or a group of heroes, and mash up their villains, and or switch it around if these characters were this character's villains and whatnot. I just poorly explained that. Basically, what if one character had another character's villain? There you go. There is the whole thing. Now, today is going to be a little different because this time I usually give like one villain to one character or a team of villains to one character. No, I'm giving an entire rogues gallery to one character. As you can see from the title, Danny Phantom and the Batman villains. What if Danny had to fight his way through all the villains coming out of Arkham Asylum? And you may be asking yourself, well, Danny's got powers. Danny's got ghost powers and could easily just crush all the Batman villains. Yeah. The problem is that the Batman villains work a lot differently from Danny's rogues. You have Vlad Plasmius, who's out to get, world power, as well as, gain, more or less want to bone Danny's mom. You've got Skulker, who's a hunter. You've got Ember, who wants people to give her power by, giving them her love and admiration through hypnotism. You've got so many villains who have a niche. And not to say the Batman villains don't have a niche either, but there's one thing that kind of sets them apart from Danny's villain. Danny's rogues gallery. I'm just a total mess today. I'm sorry. What sets them apart is they're all fucking crazy. They are all out of their goddamn minds. And Danny's never really, aside from Vlad and some of his really fucked up plans and whatnot, he's never really had a problem with fighting insane villains. Mostly because most of his enemies are all dead. But he's never really dealt with anyone who just, who just does stuff out of just sheer madness, because they think they're right. Joker is would be a complete hassle for Danny because, there's no rhyme or reason to whatever Joker does. And the other thing is that if Danny had to fight his way through all of Batman's villains, he's not Batman. He can't really, he needs help to figure out half this shit. So, characters like Riddler and Joker schemes, they would probably go off without a hitch, mostly because, Danny's not a detective. So, Riddler would just be fucking with him with all these riddles and clues while killing people at the same time, like, oh, if only you were smarter, Danny boy. Or something like that. And I'm pretty sure, it wouldn't take much for Riddler, and much less the other Batman villains to be like, oh, Danny Phantom? Danny Fenton. 2 and 2 together here, buddy. So, that's the thing, is that Danny's not a detective, and a lot of these villains would just kind of fuck with him on a mental level. And, Danny's used to fighting ghosts with his powers, and he's more powerful than a vast majority of the Batman villains. But like I said, they operate on a vastly different level than Danny does. I mean, Bane, even with the Venom, he would still not be much of a match for Danny, would still, fight him on a level on a playing field that he can work on, much less what he did with Batman. But probably Nightfall on a smaller scale, I would imagine. And that's the same thing, is Danny has all these powers, but he doesn't kill. Mostly because all of his enemies are already dead, but he already has this no-kill rule as it is. So, and that's the same thing with Batman, but due to Danny being still young, I think a lot of the Batman villains would just really love to push Danny. They would just really love to push him over and over again, just to, really drive him to the edge, and see how far they could push this poor kid. Especially Joker. Admit it, Joker would do everything in his power if he was if he had to face Danny to really make him want to kill him. Killing his parents, killing his sister, killing his girlfriend and best friend, blowing up the ghost portal, and, subsequently all of Danny's home along with it. He would have the time of his life trying his damnedest to get Danny to break. And, you've also got Penguin. Penguin isn't going to bother himself with Danny, and Danny doesn't really bother himself with, local crime. So, Penguin moves into Amity Park, he's just going to take over, crime and make it his own little thing. He's not going to have to fight with anybody to, carve out his own little piece in Gotham. his own little piece of territory, he can just run everything. You know, Penguin can easily just be like, yeah, I could run my own show now. This is amazing. Same with Two-Face. Two-Face could do the same thing. You know, the only character that, if you want to go by Batman villains, the only real character that kind of fits into Danny's wheelhouse of villains is Solomon Grundy. And yes, I know Gentleman Ghost is another one, but he's more like Hawkman's villain, really. And, you know, Hawkman and the JSA's villain. And yes, I know that the Solomon Grundy thing kind of applies to the JSA as well, but he's seen a lot in Batman's Rogues Gallery, so I don't see why not. So yeah, Grundy would really be the only one, and Grundy hits really hard, and I doubt that Danny, you know, could, you know, even if it, because yeah, Grundy's dead, but he doesn't really feel pain, so Danny could just blow him the fuck up, and Grundy would still come back. Grundy can't really die. Other characters that would really trip him up, Scarecrow. Scarecrow would really just mess him up on a mental level, you know. Danny's never really fought with a villain who can really play with fears. Nightmare was close, so was Nocturne, but they never really delved into the whole Nightmare thing. So, you know, Scarecrow could definitely feed his fear toxin throughout this high school and just be like, yeah, I'm doing this for fun. That's all I'm doing here. Just making kids scare themselves to death. That's easy. Another character that, you know, Danny would have trouble with, you know, Catwoman would also be a problem, mostly because he doesn't know how to handle basic bank robbers, and you would think, oh, you know, you're just a thief. And Selina, as we all know, Selina's a lot more than that. Selina is so much more than a common thief. Mr. Freeze, same thing. He would definitely be, attacking Axion Labs, and maybe even wanting to experiment on Danny due to his, frost powers, and maybe even want to take some of his ghost powers and see if they can help save Nora. Like I said, Danny hasn't really fought these villains who are well-seasoned, well-trained, and have fought someone who, even though he has no powers, is leagues above Danny. In terms of training and experience, and not to be like, oh, because it's the goddamn Batman. No, because Batman's had way more experience with dealing with this merry band of psychopaths, whereas Danny has only dealt with ghosts who are megalomaniacal and really kind of one-note villains on a whole. And Danny could easily be like, oh, okay, I could just blow them the fuck up. But yeah, that's not exactly how he operates, really. That's not exactly how he operates in that regard. So, the big thing in here that you really have to look at is that these villains would, a lot of them would want to kill Danny for the fun of it, leave Danny alone to carve out a piece of crime, carve out their own criminal territories in Amity Park, and the other half would just want to kill him for research, like I said, with Mr. Freeze. Other villains in Batman's Rogues Gallery who would give Danny trouble, Firefly. He has no real he's not really after Batman either. He's just an arsonist who has a shit ton of, armaments at his disposal to carry out wanting to watch things burn. Danny can't really wrap his head around the idea of these people who are just doing stuff because they want to. That's something, Danny's never really had a problem with, is like, he can understand, okay, Skulker wants to hunt me because I'm the greatest prey ever. Vlad wants to take over the world and bone my mom. Gross. All these villains have motives, have points. A lot of the Batman villains don't have a point other than they just want to do shit. Or they have this mental, this compulsion to do shit. Like Riddler, Penguin just wants money, Killer Croc would be another one where he's just like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about you, but if you come near me, I'm going to bite the shit out of you. And again, Danny could just easily phase his way out of, getting bit and whatnot. But he doesn't, just because he has that phasing ability doesn't mean it always comes in handy. It's like the spider sense. Just because Spidey, Peter can sense it doesn't mean he has enough time to always get out of the way. I mean, he does, but that doesn't mean he can, just because the spider sense goes off in his head, he doesn't always have time to get out of the way. Same thing with Danny and his intangibility. Just because he can go intangible doesn't mean he can just go, he can use it. He has enough time to use it or mentally think that, oh shit, this guy's coming at me, I gotta phase. He doesn't always think like that. So that's the big thing here, is that Danny's going to be constantly put on the frayed ends of sanity again and again and again with these guys, to the point where he is just going to get consistently fucked up physically and mentally by all of these guys coming after him again and again and again. So, yeah, Danny would not have a fun day with all of Batman's villains coming to Amity Park. Because he wouldn't understand them, he wouldn't know how to combat them, and they would just, they would just kind of, I kind of have this fear of a lot of Batman's villains would just kind of walk all over Danny. Oh, it's a good guy who doesn't know how to do detective skills and has a lot of power but doesn't know how to use it. Half the time, it doesn't know how to properly use it. Oh, this is going to be a cakewalk for us. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of the idea if Danny had to fight all of Batman's villains? Do you think he could survive? Do you think he could take them on? Or do you think that all of them would just gang up on him and kill him and his friends and family? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.